Hello there and welcome back to the channel. So in our last video we looked at how to break down this UI on the left, which is the homepage of a renting app, and in today's video we'll be focusing on the product details page of this UI. Now if you haven't watched the last video, I recommend you watch it, but you can still continue without necessarily watching the last video. Right, so what we are going to do specifically in this video is to break down the concept that goes into designing a UI like this. Right, what does it take to design something like this? What do you need to be aware of? How do you plan? How do you go about it? Just those stuff that you need to design any UI on your own. So I'll be taking you through that, and that's exactly what we are going to do now. So previously we built this UI, and what we want to do right now is we want to link this UI to this page, right? So we are going to focus on this page, but at the moment we don't have a way of navigating from this page, which is the home page, to the product details page. So that's what we are going to do now. So in our code here, when we tap on a product, we want to navigate to the product details page. That's the page we are going to design. So let's look for where we have this product card. So if you scroll up a bit, realize that we have this lazy view over here, and this is where we have our product. So this sizer box, this big sizer box, is our product card. You can refactor this into its own widget, like a product card, and maybe you pass in the product and everything becomes so simple, right? Or you could just keep everything here because you are learning how to design UIs, right? So what I'm going to do is, because we are just going to navigate to a different page, I'm not going to refactor this, but instead I'm going to wrap this with a widget we call gesture detector. So gesture detector allows us to register gestures on a widget. That's what it does. And when we tap on this widget, right, which is a single product, we want to navigate to the product details. So let's first create that product details page, and then we are looking for product details page. It doesn't matter how you call it. Let's make this stateful. So product details page like this, and then fix our imports. So this is our product details page. This is the page you'll be navigating to when we tap on the product. When we come to this page, we want to have the product that the user tapped on. So if you look at the UI, this is assuming that we tapped on the second product, and then it took us to the product details page, and we are displaying some information about the product we tap on. At least we need a name and then the image, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to require the product we tapped on to be passed to this particular page. In order to do that, just anywhere within the class, I'm going to create a field called product, and the type of course is going to be product. So if we require this product to be passed in, we will be able to display the product being passed in. So let's go back to our home page, and in the on tap we want to navigate. So navigator dot push, and we are going to pass in a material page route. The builder is the function that returns the page, so I'm going to return a product details page. Now this product details page expects a product to be passed in, and our autocomplete that, and our autocomplete did a good job by putting the product we have over here, which is the variable, to the product we are expecting, right? So that's going to be it for the navigation, and let's try it out. So if you tap on this, it takes us to a blank page. For now we have nothing on that page, so I'm going to put just an up bar here so that at least we can navigate backwards. So up bar, right, and then we have our automatic imply leading icon. So this the back button, you get it on every page when you navigate in Flutter. So right, now we are doing a navigation. Good. So we can now start working on our main product details page. When we come to the preview, realize that the icon isn't quite the same, but I'm going to maintain the icon. It's just a small detail, and I don't have this exact icon also available. So let's just work on the app bar quickly. We want to have our title and then our icon, which is the favorite icon button on the actions. So this is how it's going to look. In our app bar, we want to have our title, and that is going to be widget.product.name. And we are not doing just product.name because in the stateful class like this, you can't just access product.name like the fields in the class, right? We need to use widget and then the name of whatever we want to access. So when we save, realize this what we tapped on, right? And for now, it's not in the center, so we can still set the center title to be true, and that's going to shift it a bit to the center. And we can see it when we tap on a product that has a shorter name, right? So Google Pixel tablet, for instance. Now, one thing about the title, right, is that the original design has the title being bold, and if you want to achieve the same thing, you can do so using the title text style within the app bar. And the default title text style is the title large, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create our theme variable again, like this. This allows us to access whatever is in our theme. So theme.ofContext assigned to this theme variable, and then we can have theme.texttheme.title large, and then corporate. So corporate, we want everything in title large, but then that is going to give us exactly the same thing over here. We don't want just that. We want to copy that and then change the font weight to bold, right? So when we do that, our title doesn't change that much, just the font weight changing to bold. Now we want to put our icon button here. So in order to do that, we need to use our actions, which is anything to the right on the app bar, and we are looking for icon button. But then there is this variant of the icon button we want to use, which is the filled toner. Right now, that's the same icon button, but it has a background, and the background is not very deep. It's not very deep. So on price, as usual, will just be a function that does nothing. Our icon, we can use iconlylight.hat, which is the icon package being installed, right? And that's going to give us something like this. Or we can try Cupertino if we have Cupertino available this time. Cupertino icons, maybe .hat. Right, and we don't have Cupertino. I think I don't have Cupertino as part of my dependencies, right? So that's not going to work. And yeah, of course, I don't have Cupertino here, so that won't work. But the default Flutter app does come with Cupertino, so you might have it installed and you can use the Cupertino icon. So I don't have it. I'm going to just use the icon we used over here, right, which is the material icon. So icons dot favorite, right? We are going to have this. Now the only problem is this icon button seems a bit closer to the edge of the screen, so in order to fix that, let's wrap it in a padding widget and give it padding only on the right side, right? And that's going to fix that issue for us. Let's again look at what we have. So realize that the color of the icon is different from what we have. So in order to fix that, we can just come to the icon button, and within the icon button, we don't have icon color within the icon button, so we can style the icon button. And using the style property, we can go for icon button dot style from. So this is the way you style the icon button most of the time when you are styling them separate, or you can do it in your theme. So what we want to change is the foreground color of the icon button, and the foreground color is going to be our primary color. I'm not primary container, but our primary color, right? So that's going to give us this color, and that's going to be it for the app bar. Very simple, right? Now moving on, the next thing we want to have is this slider. So there is an image and then it has this stuff on it. It looks like it's a slider, right? So you can move it from either left or right, and currently we have three dots here, which means there are three images for this particular product. The only problem is our products have just a single image. We don't have three images for a product or more images for a product. So what we are going to do is we are just going to maintain the same images, but then we are going to implement our ability to swipe, right? So move from a product image to a different product image. And now when you have products which have more than one image, then you can utilize those images. So imagine your images filled for a product. It's not a string, but then it is a list of strings. Then you can display those images in that slider. So let's look at how that is going to look. First, within our body, we are going to have a list view, because why not? List view with some children. What we are going to do here is we are not going to have a general pattern, right? We are going to look like maybe let there be pattern all around. Although it seems like there is pattern all around on the page, our list view is not going to have pattern all around. The reason is when we scroll this page view builder, we want this page view builder to be a separate component on its own. We want to have some kind of gap between the first item and the next item. When we use a pattern all around, that means that our screen, which is the space we have, is just going to be this portion. The rest is occupied by the pattern, right? And if that is the case, when we swipe, we're not going to see the next card coming. It's going to look very weird if you have pattern all around. So what we are going to do is, instead of having a general pattern, we are either going to create pattern around the separate widgets. So let's look at how that is going to look like. First, in order to implement this swiper effect, I'm going to use a page view, right? So it's going to swipe like a page view. But in order to implement this dot effect, to make our lives easier, we'll be using something called smooth page indicator, which is a dependency we'll be adding. So let's first implement the swiping, and then we'll look at the page indicator later on. So within this children of the list view, I'm first going to have a sizer box, because we need to have a constraint of where we want to be swipeable from left to right. So sizer box with a height of 250 should look good. And then our child is going to be a page view builder, which is like a list view builder, but then it builds pages. And our item builder will return a container, right, like this. And this is what we have. For now, we need to have number of items we are building. So I'm going to give it the item count of 3 for now, which is build me 3 containers. Now let's start our container a bit. Let's give it a height of 250, same as the parent, and then a width of 100%, which is like take all the available space. Not 100%, double dot max finite, which is 100%. Right, now let's apply some decoration. So box decoration, and then I'm looking for color. Let's say colors dot gray, and then I'm looking for a shade of 100. There is not very visible, but let me just shade 400. So this is what we have right now. It's swipes, but then you can't see it, just like what I was explaining previously, right? If we even have pattern all around and we are swiping, that's not going to be visible. So in order to fix this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply margin around this. So margin and or with a value of 16. Not all, I need horizontal, just horizontal. So horizontal with a value of 16. Now we can see that we are swiping, right? So you see that this thing is moving from here to here, and then from there like this. right? Because there is some kind of space between the items. But if we had a general space here and then we still had this margin, that's going to make this card smaller. It's going to squeeze more space out of this place, right? So having the general pattern wouldn't allow us to create the UI we want. Now the next thing is to style this card so that we have our image and then our chips within the card. So what we are going to do is, within our container, right, we are going to apply first pattern, and I'm going to give it a value of 16. Good. And then we are also going to add our image, right? So we want to have our image here, and I'm going to use the image property, so more like a background image. And this image is going to be whatever the product image was. So asset image, and then we're accessing product.image, right? So when we save, we're going to have something like this, and when we swipe, we are still seeing the same image. Now we will use this pattern for something else very soon. For now, it's actually not doing anything because the pattern is not affecting the decoration image, but then we will see its usefulness very soon. So outside of that, we want to have these guys, right? So we want to have the chip with the rating and everything on top of this container. Now you can use a stack widget for this, but I'm not going to use a stack widget because I'm in a container. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just set the child of the container to be this widget. Now this image over here is serving as a background image of the container. So the actual children of the container would be these stuff over here, right? And then we are going to align them to the bottom, so that the image acts like a background image, but then the container has some child, and the child is this, and it's going to look like the child is on top of the background image, which is this image over here. So how it's going to look in code? First, realize that everything is aligned in a row, and that's what we are going to do. So let's first have a child as a row with some children, right? And now within these children, we are going to create those chips. Now you can use the normal chip widget, but I feel there is a very small design that styling the chip becomes a bit difficult to achieve what is over here, right? So what I'm personally going to do is I'm just going to use a container, give it some border radius, and then put these icons and text in instead of using the chip widget. You can achieve the same thing with that, but the styling with the chip is a bit stressful. Back here within the row, we're going to have the container for chips, right? So container, and the child of this container would be, for now let's put a text there like available, right? So when we save, realize that our container is somewhere in the middle, right? This is not where we want it to be. So in order to fix that, there is alignment property in the main container that we can use, the one that is acting like the background, right? So alignment and alignment dot bottom. So anywhere in the bottom center, in the bottom left, I think that will work. So bottom left, right? And that is going to put it here. And because of the pattern, realize that we still have some space here, right? And we shouldn't forget our border radius. So let me apply the border radius before I forget. So within the decoration, we're going to have border radius dot circular, and then passing a value of 20. So that is going to give this border radius around the card. Also, I feel the card is a bit close to the top here, right? And maybe the margin or wasn't that bad. So something like this. It also makes the card a bit smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it like that. What I'll do is I'll wrap this whole sizer box in a pattern widget that will just push it up, or I can use the pattern within a lazy view. So I think that would be a good idea. So pattern top, and then maybe 15 like this. Yeah, so that's going to do the trick. It's going to push everything downwards. Within the container we have this text available, so we just need to style the container to look like what we had. I'm going to do exactly just that. So first we need some kind of padding and padding, and I don't need everything 8. So if you look at the chip we have, in order to create a chip like this, the padding on top and left they are not the same. So what I'm going to do is edge insert the symmetric, and then our vertical is going to be 4, horizontal is going to be 8. Right, now we still don't see anything very fancy because we don't have the color here. So let's first add a decoration, box decoration, and then apply some color. And I don't want primary color, I want a different color, so color is the green. And then we can have a border radius, and border radius, I'm looking for a circular version of this border radius. Right, so this is what we are going to have. Now let's change our text to have a color of white. So style, text style, and then just change the color to white. Right, and that's going to create our available chip. Now we can create the other chip very easily. All that we have to do is to just duplicate this, right, and now start working on that chip. So first and first, I want a space between these two chips, and I'm going to use the margin property because I'm in a container. I don't need another pattern or sizer box. So the margin, and I want to give margin not only of left, because there would be other things to the right as well. So margin symmetric, and I want horizontal with a value of 10. Right, so there's another space here for the next set of items that will come. Now within this container, instead of having just the child text available, no, we are not going to have that. We are going to have our icons, and our icons, which is these icons and text. So an icon, our icon, and then this text, they are aligned in a row, right? So row with some children, right, and then we need our icon, and we can use our icon light package, iconly, and then light version. We are looking for map or location, location with a size of 16, and when we save this, what we are going to have. But then we also need to change the color to be white, and then we need to add our text. So I'm going to add a text, 4.0 kilometers. Right, now our text also needs to be white, and the font size needs to be small. So I'm just going to apply a text style, and then set the color to be white, like this, and we are slowly getting there. The only difference is the background is different. Background, where we have colors that are green in the decoration, is that going to be our primary color. The next thing we need is this rating and then text. So that's just going to be within the row. Right, so container for chips, we have this first container which we start to look like this, and then next container, the next thing is just going to be a simple an icon. So we put our icon there, and it's going to be a star icon. So icon bold dot star, and the size is going to be 18 because we want to be much smaller, and also the color is going to be our primary color. Right, so that's going to create this icon for us. Now we don't have any gap after this icon, so I'm going to put a sizer box there with a width of let me say maybe 4, and then our text which has the actual rating value. So we don't have rating on our product model, so I'm going to just hard code 4.9. Then we can style this a bit. So style, and color is going to be our primary color, and then the font weight will be bold, right? And that's going to create this for us. When we swipe, they all have this kind of UI, right? So you can just extract this into a separate widget, maybe a separate card or whatever you want to call it, and then pass the image, the rating, and any other information you want to pass, right? If you want to conditionally render this, you can use an if statement to do that, but I'm going to leave it like this, right? So this is just what we are going to have for now. Now after this sizer box, we need to have our 3 dots. This is where we need the smooth page indicator package I talked about. So if you go to your browser, pub.dev, can search for the smooth page indicator, this, and then copy it. So smooth page indicator, and then your pubspec.yaml, just add it as a dependency here, and then don't forget to run pub-get. Now this smooth page indicator is going to give us all the design we want. So if you look at the example, they have all these designs. They just do what they said, page indicators, right? And we are using a page view for this instance. So page indicator, we are going to first have some kind of space, because we need to have a space, a gap between the card we have designed and then the page indicator. So let's first put some sizer box here. So just after this sizer box, I'm going to put a sizer box here for spacing, and then I need my smooth page indicators. In order to use this smooth page indicator, we are going to use a widget called animated smooth indicator. Now this animated smooth indicator takes in an active index and then a count. The count is the number of items we have, right? For now our count is 3, which is what we had coded over here, and our active index is going to be 0. And you see we have these giant indicators to the left of our page. So what we are going to do is we are going to wrap them in a center widget. That's going to center it in the middle of our page, and we can style this a bit. So first what I want to do is I want to change the width and then the height. The dot looks so huge, so in order to do that, I'm going to use the effect field and then set it to WEM effect. Now there are a lot of effects that you can choose from, and so if you come to this, they have a lot of effects here, scrolling dot effect, and with other properties you can choose WEM effect whatsoever. So I'm just going to choose the WEM effect, and then from here I can customize the look of my dots. So the first thing is I want the dot width to be 10, both the width and height, so any that comes first, and that is going to make it smaller. Now I also want the dot color to be gray, so color is the gray, but then with a shade of 300. That's going to create these dots for us. For now they don't do anything, and in order to make them functional, we need to change the active index when we swipe this card. So let's first create a variable to keep record of that, to know that we've changed. So int active index, and then we can set it to 0. So initially we are just on the first page, and within this page view builder we can listen for when we change a page. So on page changed, and this is going to give us the new value, which is the new page that we are on. So we can just set state and then change the active index to the new value, right? And then we can, instead of setting the active index to 0, we can set that to our active index, which is our new variable that we've created. Now when we swipe, realize that it also jumps according to our active index. And next, after this, we are going to look at this user tile over here. In order to create this user tile, I'm just going to use a list style widget. You can create this with a combination of row, column. Yeah, you can do that, but I feel the list style is the easiest way to create this. If you haven't used the list style widget, it's very simple to use. let's first have some kind of gap after this indicator. So I'm going to use a sizer box and then give it a height of 20, and then I'm going to use the list style. So let's start with it like this, and nothing is showing. We're going to pass in a title, and the title is going to be a text that says Harrison's shop. Right, so when I save this, what we have, and just look like a normal text. When we look at the design again, realize that at the bottom we have this rating, and then to the left we have this avatar. So in order to specify that in the list style, let's first look at the left, which is the avatar. We can use the leading property of the list style and then set it to a circle avatar, and that is going to create this avatar for us. For now, it doesn't have any image in it, and I'm going to quickly copy in a background image. So within this circle avatar, you can specify a background or a foreground image, and I'm going to use a background image. This is just a random image I copied on Splash. So you can use any image, you can use an asset image or a network image, it doesn't really matter. So that's going to be it for our avatar. We need to also change our title. For now, it doesn't look bold, so now to make it bold, I'm going to use the title text style, and I'm going to set it to theme.text theme.body large. Right, so when I set to body large, it's almost like I haven't changed anything, but I'm going to copy and then change the font weight to just bold, and that's going to change the text to bold. Now when it comes to whatever is below the main text, we are going to use a subtitle property, and it takes a widget. It's not supposed to be just text, so I'm going to put a row there. We have a row of stars, right, with some sort of rating. So we have a row for the subtitle, and then the children of this row would be our stars. Now we can manually just copy 4 stars and then put it there, because if you look at what we have 4 stars filled with a primary color and then 1 star which doesn't have the primary color. We can do that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function that does that, like a loop. So within this row, I know I have to have a star and then a text, right? So I can't just loop with the children. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a list.generate, and the length is going to be 4, which stands for the number of stars which have the primary color, right? So let's say the rating of the user, and this function must return something, the widget we want. So I'm going to return our star, and we still have a lot of errors going on here. The reason is this list.generate returns a list, and we are in a another list, so technically it's not going to be possible. This children is expecting individual icons or individual widgets, not a list of widgets. So what we can do is we can just spread this out like this, and that should fix the error. Now instead of the light version of the star, I want the bold version like this, and that is going to create 4 stars for us instead of manually creating them. Now we can change the primary color with this one. So these ones are what the user has chosen, and we can set the color to be our primary color. Now we can go on to create the star, which is what the user hasn't selected. So I'm just going to copy this outside list.generate and then put another star here, right? And this is what we are going to have: 4 stars which have what the user has selected, 1 which does not. Now we can also put the rating just after that, but I want to have a little space. I don't want it to be very close to the stars, so I'm going to put a sizer box there, or you can use a padding sizer box, a rate of 4, and then put the text there. Right, and that is going to be it for this section. Now we need the arrow here, so what I'm going to do is after this subtitle, which I'm going to collapse, I'm going to use the action, what is it called, the trailing, not action, so trailing, and then I'm going to set it to be an icon button. Now the icon we are looking for in this case is going to be the chevron icon. So chevron right, which is the right arrow, right? And we are going to have something like this. Now if you want to have exactly what is here, you can use the icon button dot fill toner like we did over here, but I don't really like this UI over here, right? So let me show you how that will look like. We are going to use icon button dot fill toner like this, and that's going to do majority of the work. Then you can style, so you can change the style and then set the foreground color to be your primary color. Also, you can decrease the width and height, which is the size of the icon button. So if you want to decrease that, it's very simple. Just wrap it in a sizer box, give it a width like maybe 35 and then a height of 35. That's going to make it look weird at first, but you don't have to worry. You have to just remove the padding. So there is a padding over here, right? And then set it to 0, right? And that's going to fix it. So that's going to create exactly the same UI, right? I prefer the previous one, but if we add const everywhere, yeah, that's going to be it for the. So that's going to be it for the list style. Now, next we are going to have these options, which is, I don't really know if they are actionable or they are just normal designs, but anyway, I'm going to use a container to create these designs because they look easier, and then these ones don't look like buttons for me, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to collapse this list style, and just after that we are going to have a row that will hold these cards, right? So you realize that at this point the pattern here downwards won't change, they are just going to be the same. So I'm going to wrap a pattern. I don't want to be giving padding to each section, so padding here and then be padding here and padding here as well. I don't want to do that. So what I want to do is I want to just give padding all around from this section. So I have to group this all as one, give it a padding. So how I'm going to do that, just after a list style, I'm going to use a column to group the remaining widgets. So column with some children, and I'm going to wrap the padding around this column, and I'm going to have padding all around the 16. Right now within this column, this is where we are going to have our cards, our button or list style, whatever you decide to call it, and then this primary button over here. So let's first work on our card, and within this column we are going to have the row, so row for our cards. Now within this row with children, we are going to have containers. Obviously I said I'm going to use a container, so we are going to have container, and then let's start our container. First we're going to give it a width of 120 and then a height of 125. Now the difference is because if you look at the UI, it seems like the height is a bit more than the width. It's not a full square, so it's like a rectangle. So I'm going to change the height a bit. It's going to be 125, and then we are going to apply some decoration. So box decoration, I first want to have a color, and the color I'm going to use is going to be a gray color. It's not exactly the same color they have, but I mean it gets the work done. So gray, and then also change the border radius, and the border radius I'm looking for a value of around 25. Right, so that's going to create our first card for us. Now within this container, right, we need to have our text. So hourly, and then maybe the value, and then text. So if you look at the UI, we have hourly, its value, and then a text here. And since these texts look separate, right? They don't look like, they have any relationship. I'm going to use a column and then maybe put them one text at a time. You can also use a rich text, go your way with that, but I'm going to use a column. So child column with some children, right? And the first text is the string hourly, and let's start it a bit even before we save. So team, and then we are looking for a text team with title medium text style. So when I save, we are going to have this, right? And I want to change the font weight to be bold. Good. Now that's going to give us this, and I want everything to be in the center, right? So within the column, we're going to change the main axis alignment to be main axis alignment dot center, right? So that's going to push everything to the center. Now let's just duplicate this. So I'm going to duplicate this like that, and we have 3 of these. Now the first one is going to be our hourly, but the second one is not going to be that. It's going to be the actual value, which is the 15 or the $5 value we have over here. So 5, and in order to write 5, we have to escape it using the dollar. So dollar 5.00. So this is going to be our 5, right? And it's going to be exactly like this. Now when it comes to this, we don't need any style here. We can just go with the default. So, and then change it to per hour, right? So that's going to create something like this. Now we need some kind of space between these guys and then these guys. So let's wrap the middle text in a pattern, and then the pattern is going to be only on the vertical axis. So I want pattern on the top and pattern on bottom at the same time. I don't want to do dot only and then top 2, bottom 2. So I just do vertical and I just pass in the value I want, right? And that's just going to push it a bit to the top and then down. Now that's going to be the cards we need. So there's one template for the card, and we can just duplicate it. So I'm going to copy this container, which is within the row, and then duplicate it 3 times. And now we have 3 cards. They are close together, you can't even see a gap between them. So within the main row, I'm going to use the main axis alignment, and then set the main axis alignment to space between. So that's going to make sure it's distributing the small space left in this row between these guys, right? So that's going to create this space we have over here. Now in the middle card has a bit different styles, so let's look at that. First, we are looking for a black background, right? So if you look at the design, we are looking for a black background, and we are also looking for a white text. So one easy way you can do this is to wrap the column in something we call default text style, right? You give it a default text style, right? So I'm just going to style everything within the column, or you can just manually change the colors. So color, there is not a lot of work, so I can do it colors dot white, right? And this as well, colors colors dot white, and maybe this is also colors dot white. So style, text style, and then colors dot white, right? That's going to be it. And then we can also proceed to change the text. So the text is daily and it's 15, and then it's the same per hour. So if you look at it, that's what we have. And the next one is going to be monthly. So just go down, monthly, change it to 40 like we have, and then I think it's the same as per hour. Per month, and there's per day, so it's not per hour. So per month, I don't know if they wrote it in full, but per month doesn't look bad. And then also per day, right? So that's going to be it for these cards. So just after the row, which I'm going to collapse, and you should know that in an actual project, you should refactor all these into their own separate components. So just after this row, we are going to have this over here, right? Now I'm going to use the same lister approach. Of course, you can go with a container and maybe whatsoever, but then I'm going to use a lister. So that's my preference. You can use a different way to achieve the same results. There's no restriction with that. Let's have a lister with a title that says 4 days, and this looks close to this. It's because the lister has a lot of padding, so you don't see it, but they are very close. If I give the lister a color right now, so tile color, and not title, tile color, maybe give it not canvas, so color scheme primary container, you realize that they are very close, right? So what I'm going to do instead is to put a sizer box here and give it a height of 20, right? So that pushes it a bit. We have some kind of space over here, and then we can apply some kind of border radius to this. So first, let's get our border radius, right? And we don't have a border radius property on the lister, but we have a shape property, so we can set the shape to rounded rectangle border. So one tip is, if you are looking for border radius and you can't find it, and then you find a shape, then you can use a shape to achieve the border radius. So if I set rounded rectangle border, I mean, it doesn't do anything, but then within the rounded rectangle border, we can apply a border radius. I'm going to give a border radius circular of 20, right? And that's it for us. I want to change the title text style because for now it looks a bit different from the design. So if you look at the design, this is different with the color and everything is different. So I'm going to change that using the title text style just like we did above, and it's going to be the same body large. So body large, and I want to copy that, and this time I'll just change the color. So I'm going to change the color to our primary color. I'm not primary container but primary, like this. And we need to make this bold as well, I think so. Let's look at the UI. So I think it's bold. So just here we can make it bold. So font weight bold, right? And now we need our icon leading, and we're looking for icon, and I'm looking for the calendar icon from Iconolite. So Iconolite, that's calendar, and we can change the icon color from the lister. So icon color, and then set it to our primary color, right? Now the last thing for us to do is to set the text at the end, which I'm going to use the trailing property. So trailing, and then it's going to be a text that says set date, and it looks a bit small, so let's style that. So style, and then I'm going to use the body large text style, right? And that is going to be it for this lifestyle design. Now the last thing would be our button. So let's copy this sizer box here and put it after the lifestyle. Our button, so our button could be just any button. Third button, I'll go with third button instead of elevated button. And then the child is going to be a text that says lease for so if you look at the UI, this is what we have. Now the only problem is our buttons are fully rounded, right? And we don't want that fully rounded button. So we can change the style of this button as well. So first style, and then we are going to use third button dot style from, and then change the shape, not shadow, shape, to be rounded rectangle border. right? That makes it rectangle, straightforward. But we don't want that. We want to apply a certain border radius. So border radius dot circular, and I'm looking for a value of 20. And it still seems a bit rounded, like fully rounded, and the reason is that this button is too small. So let's try to make it big by wrapping it with a sizer box and then setting the width to be 100% and also increasing the height, right? So that makes our border radius of 20 look good, not very bad. And again, our text is too small. If you look at the design, the text is huge. So whilst we are redoing the style form, we can set our text style. So not there, but here, text style, and that's going to be our theme and then body large text style. And that's going to be all for this UI. So if we look at what we have over here, we are basically done with that. So we are having almost identical or the similar UI here, right? Now if we test this, if we go to a different product, whereas we get 3 of these products we can swipe. Same with this, right? So yeah, that's it about rebuilding this page in Flutter. Now if you like today's content, hit the like button, and if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. If you have any other questions, you can leave it in the comment section as well, and I'll see you in the next one.